Good evening and welcome to the Crown Hill Journey. My name is Christina Apt. I'm your guide on this journey, and I'm also the author of the book Crown Hill. And I think what's important tonight is to remind you of what we finished last night so that you'll be aware that what happens tonight will be meaningful. We had Meg who hello, Kathleen and Rick and Peggy. Wow, yay, everybody's joining me. So I was just starting to remind people of what happened last night and why it matters. Meg is continuing to be, her life is continuing to be, cheers, Peggy, is continuing to be impacted by Mary. Mary is invading her dreams. She's invading her awake moments. It doesn't matter what she's doing. Mary is determined to make sure that Meg knows that she is in that house and needs her help. And so Meg is disoriented and she's not exactly sure why, but she's doing her best to try to stay healthy and try to sleep as best she can and establish her life in Crown Hill. So that's, I think, pretty much all you really need to know right now. And I think it's time to get started. So glass is already on tonight. Sip of wine. Crown Hill, a novel of love, life, and the afterlife. Book 3, Meg, Chapter 13. Meg woke up with a yen for cinnamon sugar toast. Rapidly, her hunger became a relentless craving that drove the sleepy woman from her cozy bed into the kitchen. The process of creating the sugary sweet breakfast treat was a sacred one in Meg's world. She started by cutting 2 thick slices of spelt bread from a loaf baked at a nearby organic market. Meg had discovered the charming shop during one of her business errands for Kelly and Sons. Next, she delicately placed the bread upon a wire rack, consecrating her breakfast indulgence under a low broil in the oven. The fussy cook had long ago determined that broiling gave the toast an added crunch that elevated it to divine perfection. With the bread grilling, Meg went in search of her treasured cinnamon sugar shaker with the bright red top. The clear plastic container had been a random purchase at a housewares outlet years ago. From the first shake, it had become her favorite method for the sprinkling portion of her sweet toast ritual. The problem at the moment was that the shaker was missing. What in the world could I have done with it, Goldie? Meg wondered aloud to her nearby pet. Unconcerned, Goldie thumped her tail in half-hearted reply as Meg continued to ravage her cupboards. Pausing to carefully turn and reposition the warming bread slices, Meg returned to the spice cupboard for one last look. Digging deeply through the various sweet and savory seasonings, she finally spotted the red-topped shaker wedged in the recesses of the cabinet, trapped between 2 oversized containers of ground sage and curry. Quickly separating the shielding spices, Meg grabbed her treasure cinnamon sugar mix and swooped to the oven just in time. She seized the perfectly golden slices of toast and placed them on a waiting platter. Next came the slathering of softened butter onto the steaming bread, infusing luxurious richness into every toasted grain. Finally, it was time. Reverentially, Meg took the shaker in hand and showered the indulgent divinity with a blizzard of cinnamon sugar sweetness. Exercising absolutely no self-control, Meg lifted the first slice of golden toast to her mouth and devoured it. The fusion of sweet and spice with buttery crunch bordered on immoral decadence. Slice 2, equally divine. On this summer Sunday morn, life was definitely good for Margaret Rose Flynn. Cleaning up from her cinnamon toast revelry, Meg felt clear-headed for the first time in days. Following a good night's sleep, her sense of well-being encouraged the resolute woman to begin a regimen that she'd envisioned since moving to Crown Hill: to rise early each morning and exercise. Meg didn't care what form the physical activity took. She was intent on establishing a regular workout routine. So, what's your choice, Goldie? Shall we try one of our yoga videos? Or maybe get out the weights? Again, offering nothing but a meager tail thump, Goldie's clear indifference left Meg with only one choice. Okay, girl, you win. A walk it is. At the sound of the magic word, Goldie was up and dancing around, yipping in excitement. Okay, calm down. Let me get your leash. The smart pooch knew the routine and immediately sat and waited for Meg to attach the bright green braided lead to her matching collar. All righty, off we go, girl. Let's have some fun exploring our new neighborhood. Meg and Goldie had long enjoyed teaming up for energizing walks. However, the trauma and stress of Meg's divorce had curtailed their exercise ritual. It had been over a year since the two had delighted in a workout hike. Today's venture felt revitalizing to both woman and dog. The duo set off heading north toward town and the rolling hills that lie in between. The land surrounding Crown Hill still nurtured a few farms and some random vineyards. Primarily, though, it had evolved into a colony of homes in varying shapes and sizes, with Crown Hill appearing as a treasured gem among them all. Meg and Goldie hit a strong pace as they advanced into the first steep grade of their walk. To their credit, they met the elevated challenge with ease. Yet, as they continued, their path became unexpectedly blocked. Well, good morning. It's nice to see others up and out. Saturdays can be on the quiet side, with walkers taking a break from their weekday schedules. A petite, dark-haired woman, garbed in sleek, black spandex, suddenly materialized before Meg and Goldie. She was graceful in her movements as she approached from her home's driveway, immediately intersecting the road. My name is Lee Wilson. I walk along Sandrock just about every day. Nice to meet you. Without hesitation, Goldie moved toward the athletic woman, broadly wagging her tail in response. Meg joined as well, extending her hand. Hello. Nice to meet you. My name is Meg Flynn, and this is Goldie. Well, hello, Meg. My pleasure to make your acquaintance, and hello to you too, Goldie. I have a retriever named Missy who could be your twin. Would you two care to walk together? Unsure of the distance and pace of Lee's routine, Meg hesitated. The trim woman's appearance and garb marked her as a walker of serious intent. Meg and Goldie were just getting back on track with a resolve to start out easy. Nonetheless, Meg decided to accept Lee's invitation, hoping it wouldn't evolve into a competitive challenge. Continuing in the direction that they had started, Lee launched into an easy patter that matched her stride. So, tell me, do you live on Sandrock, or are you a distance walker on a longer route? No, we live on the road. Just moved in a few weeks ago, actually. Before Meg could elaborate, Lee excitedly responded, oh, I know who you are. You're the woman who bought Crown Hill. You're a divorcee, right? No children, from out of town as I recall. Well, welcome to Eden and to Sandrock Road, and please accept my apology for not yet bringing you a cake or a meal or something to welcome you properly. Meg's immediate thoughts were that this woman possessed a lot of information about her. At the same time, Jake Kelly's small-town admonishments echoed through her mind. Meg knew that she needed to lower her defenses if she was ever going to experience the heart-mending new life of which she dreamed. Thank you for your kind welcome, Lee, and please don't think twice about not meeting before now. I've been settling in kind of quietly. That was it. That was all she had. Meg had no idea where to go with this conversation. Fortunately, Lee Wilson was an expert at chatter. Well, still in all, I should have at least stopped by to say hello, and we're going to do something about that this morning. When we're done with our walk, we're going to sit on my terrace and enjoy a cup of tea. That way we can get on track as good neighbors. And Goldie and Missy can meet as well and play in the yard while we visit, and I won't take no for an answer. Meg furtively searched her mind for reasons to refuse the command appearance, yet try as she might, there were none. Cautiously, she settled into the idea and accepted Lee's invitation. After several miles of hills and dales, the women agreed to reverse and work their way back to their meeting point. As they reached the Wilsons' driveway and approached Lee's house, Meg was impressed with the architecture of the stately residence. The Georgian-style home appeared considerably more gracious than most along the road, causing Meg to wonder about its past. Lee, if you don't mind my asking, what is the history of your home? It's gorgeous, but also seems a bit fancier than the rest on Sandrock, almost more city than country. You're spot on with your observation, Meg. This house was the first to exist on the road, built around 1851. I believe by a man named Cyrus Culp. He was a wealthy businessman who made his fortune by brokering and delivering food and provisions produced in Eden to consumers between here and Buffalo. His wealth increased with the advent of train transportation, furthering his reach to urban areas as far as Rochester to the east and Erie, Pennsylvania to the west. Meg found the information fascinating, as learning about Crown Hill's history had encouraged her interest in such details. She wondered if there were noteworthy connections between the two neighboring homes and their previous owners. She was about to inquire about such possibilities when Lee opened her backyard gate and a whirling dervish of gold fur spun into their midst. "Okay, Missy, take it easy." Lee's admonishment was useless. The effervescent retriever swarmed Meg and Goldie an unabashed welcome. To her credit, Goldie accepted the animated greeting with gentle reserve. "Now see here, Missy, you have to let Goldie get used to you. I'm sorry, Meg. She just loves playing with other dogs. Why don't you and Goldie relax here on the terrace while I go in and brew a nice pot of herbal tea? I'll take Missy with me, and hopefully she will settle down a bit, be better behaved when we return." "That's fine. Whatever's easy," Meg replied as she kept a close eye on the canine summit playing out around her. Within minutes, Lee returned with a lovely tray of tea and muffins and a much calmer dog. This time, Missy approached her visitors respectfully, allowing Goldie time and space to deal with the standard sniffing and posturing required of canine alliances. By the time Lee served Meg her tea, the two dogs were comfortably shoulder to shoulder, strolling along the fenced boundaries of the terrace. "You know, Meg, while I was inside, I gave more thought to your question about my house. I don't know everything about it, but I do know a few stories relative to Crown Hill." Lee's words caused an odd sensation within Meg. It wasn't a red spread. It felt more like some kind of intuitive recognition, almost as if she knew what Lee was about to share. Trying to shake off the odd feeling, Meg responded, "I would imagine the closeness of the two houses connected them in many ways over the years." "Exactly, and from everything I know, those in residence in the two houses have always been neighborly. Actually, this house was the first to be built, with your house constructed several years later. Crown Hill was originally designed as a small cabin for a man who worked for Cyrus Culp. Cyrus wanted someone close by so that everything always ran smoothly on his property. Hiring and housing a farm manager was the easiest way to achieve his goal. After Cyrus's death, his house passed to other owners. His property was divided and sold, and Crown Hill became its own domain. Meg thoughtfully sipped her tea before responding. Catherine Winston was the realtor who sold me Crown Hill. She told me that there are 3 books that I've written on the history of Eden, and that my home is featured in one of them. Do you know, is your house written about as well? Oh, yes, it is noted in book 1 when Cyrus built it, and then in book 2, some 30 years later, when a man named Frederick Sandrock assumed ownership, around 1882, as I recall. Frederick Sandrock? The name surprised Meg. Yes, Lee replied, and yes, the road is named after him. He was quite a prominent man in the area. He was a retired business owner who came to Eden to become a gentleman farmer. He also served as the town judge for 3 decades. From all stories, he ruled with an iron hand, bringing great order to Eden as it advanced from a rural wilderness to a respectable community. The time frame Lee spoke of piqued Meg's interest. So, if this Sandrock fellow was here in the 1880s, that was the same time that Mary and Owen Southwick lived at Crown Hill. Do you know anything of their relationship, if they had one? Actually, I do know a bit about that. Mary was close to the extended family of Frederick Sandrock. Frederick's brother William, his brother's wife Elizabeth, and their children lived here with him. From what I know, Mary and Elizabeth bonded over their shared love of gardening. So far, Lee's information was innocent. Perhaps the odd sensation Meg continued to feel was more a side effect of their brisk walk than anything else. It's funny, though, Meg, now that you mention it, I actually know more about your home from my husband's parents than any other source. My in-laws lived in this house before we did, and they often told us stories about their neighbor across the road. She was a woman by the name of Dorothy George. From what I understand, Dorothy enjoyed a strong friendship with the people who owned Crown Hill in the early 1900s. If I recall properly, their name was Randall. Tales of the 20th century were much less compelling to Meg, as the era was far removed from Mary Southwick's lifetime. Try as she might to remain engaged, Meg found herself mentally drifting from Lee's words. The Randalls were a family from Buffalo. He was a lawyer, his wife and their 2 daughters. They all spent the summers here in Eden. According to my in-laws, Dorothy told stories about the lawyer, Edward, that deeply involved the world of spiritualism. She said that he engaged in a lot of mystical activities, seances and things like that. She also told my in-laws that she knew firsthand such going-ons happened at Crown Hill, and that they were connected to a long-running rumor about Mary Southwick's ghost haunting the old farmhouse. Bingo. Meg became fully engaged as the information Lee had just shared jolted her brain. Suddenly, the odd dreams and unusual happenings in her home were coming into focus. If Mary Southwick had really haunted Crown Hill only 80 years earlier, could it be that some type of spiritual connection was still in force? Meg considered the possibilities as Lee continued. The really interesting story that Dorothy often shared with my in-laws involved English mystery writer Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. She said that Sir Conan Doyle joined with Edward Randall in spiritual activities at Crown Hill. She was actually friends with a housekeeper for the Randalls who witnessed such things. The odd sensation in Mary's body was now fully blossomed. Her ears were ringing, her eyes sparkling, and her stomach felt ready to launch the tea and muffin she had just consumed. Yet her mind was fully engrossed in Lee's story and demanded more. So, Lee, have you knowledge of or experience with the supposed ghost of Mary Southwick in my home? With a laugh, Lee responded, Actually, I've never heard anyone talk about a ghost in your house since we have lived here, and that's better than 30 years. So no, you couldn't prove any of that by me. Why do you ask? Have you ever seen Mary Southwick's ghost? Lee asked the question in a joking tone, but the conversation did not feel humorous to Meg. At this point, she had heard all of the Crown Hill history that she could manage. She needed to go home, to be by herself, to process all of this new information. As far as I know, ghosts are nowhere around Crown Hill, Lee, and you are welcome to come by any time to see for yourself. Right now, though, I must really get home and attend to some of the chores on my list. Still so much to get settled, as I'm sure you understand. As the two women rose, Lee reached out to Meg with a neighborly hug. The unexpected kindness brought a warmth to Meg's heart that she was beginning to identify as belonging to a town, to a neighborhood, to people who cared. Gently returning the embrace, Meg silently thanked Jake for setting her straight about small town life. Meg, I hope that you will drop by often, and please join me if you'd like for walks. It would be nice to have your company. I'm usually on the road around 8 a.m. Thank you, Lee. I'm sure that we will enjoy many walks to come. With that, Meg set off for Crown Hill, realizing with an increasing sense that her life there had a purpose. Oh, Meg, just one more thing, Lee called out, stopping Meg and Goldie midway in the Wilsons' winding drive. You might want to call Clara Johnson and talk to her about your house. Her mother was a friend of Dorothy George, and Clara grew up with Dorothy's daughter, Florty. I'm guessing that she knows more about that story of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Mary Southwick's ghost. I'm quite sure that her number is listed in the Eden phone directory if you want to call her. Thank you, Lee. I'm sure I will. That was twice in the last 24 hours that Meg had been told to reach out to Clara Johnson. Again, she knew the name, but could not recall why. She kept rolling Clara through her mind as she and Goldie made their way along the half-mile walk back to Crown Hill. It was only as they passed under the arbor and became immersed in its sweet rose scent that Meg finally put a face to the name. Clara Johnson, the sweet little woman in the diner who told me to call her when I was ready. With Meg's return, the air within me became energized. Although she looked the same and acted with no unusual purpose, something had changed within Meg, and it was a change directly impacting me. Mary and I were settled in the quietude of the morning as Meg's energy swirled around us. Mary, do you feel that? Yes, Crown Hill, I have sensed the infusion of energy since Meg's return. Is it like anything you have known before? There have been moments of extreme energy and emotions. In those early days when you haunted within me, and, of course, when Owen isolated us both from Rose. But even the most impactful of those did not measure to the intensity that is now present within Meg. It would seem that there is some kind of power now accompanying her, and it is possible that she has become possessed. The thought of another life force invading my being was disturbing. While many spirits had passed through me, only one other than Mary had ever impacted me with the power that I was feeling. Owen. "No, it cannot be," Mary answered in despairing tones. "We have taken such care with Meg, and truly, Crown Hill, stop and feel this power churning through you. It has not the evil that accompanies Owen and those like him." Carefully assessing all I was feeling, I guardedly became of the same mind. Whatever was happening within me did not carry the darkness of evil. It is true, Mary, I do not feel Owen's wicked force, as I have other times when he was near. It's more that I dread his return and am always in anxious await. I understand, dearest, as I too balance on a fine line of trepidation where Owen is concerned. But if we are agreed that this power accompanying Meg is not a force of evil, then what or who? The answer to Mary's wonder became clear as Meg picked up the telephone and placed a call. "Hello, this is Meg Flynn. I'm trying to reach Clara Johnson." Meg was reaching out to a woman who could reveal much of the life that had transpired within me, as well as Mary's enduring presence. Instinctively, both Mary and I understood this evolution as part of all that was necessary to deliver Mary's spirit to the light. Sweet Mary, let us return in the quiet of the morning that we were sharing and enjoy our moments together. Indeed, dear friend, let us be still and connected so that we will be able to transcend all that is about to come. In a bittersweet blending of joy and sorrow, Mary and I became protectively circled in our love, leaving aside all conscious care. So, Clara Johnson, the sweet little lady that met Meg the first day she came to Eden in the diner and seemed like the town busybody, but seems as if maybe there's much more to who she is. Dun 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 dun, as my granddaughter would say. So tomorrow night we will move on to chapter 14, and we are winding down in this story, and Clara Johnson is definitely going to be someone you'll enjoy meeting more fully than we have so far. I hope that you enjoyed this evening's chapter, and thank you, so many of you, for joining. Friday night seems to be a good night for people to want to kind of snuggle down and listen to a chapter of a book. So I hope that I did it justice, and I hope that you enjoyed the journey this evening and that you will join me. We only have 19 chapters total, so we only have 5 chapters left. So if you're new to the Crown Hill journey, please know that on YouTube, all the readings are there from the very first day. We started on the 1st of April. And if you do want to catch up, you certainly go back and binge. What a fun way to spend Saturday, binging Crown Hill. Woo, sounds like fun to me. And then come back tomorrow night at 7:30 and join us for chapter 14 and finish out the book to the end. The very last day of April, we will come to the end conclusion of this book, Crown Hill. And then we will also do an author talk back on May 1st with the medium who helped me write this book. And without her, the book would never have happened. And then on May 2nd, I will read the 4th book of Crown Hill. As the first book in Crown Hill is 1 chapter only. It has never been published. It has only been seen by my editor, who told me that it didn't belong in the book. And so we took it out. And you'll hear more about that as we talk about the Crown Hill journey with Candy, the medium, and then as I read that 4th book. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful Friday evening. Sleep well, drink your water, wash your hands, and have a good night.